Hey everybody, Kendall here, and this is Nib Quest, Mystery of the Hidden Grail Pen. This is a solo flip and write game. It plays in about 45 to 60 minutes, and it uses this printed sheet and a standard deck of cards and a pen, preferably a fountain pen, but any pen will do, and you can actually use multiple pens, and you can do different inks if you want, all for fun. So this game is part of the Board Game Geek Contest, and I will include links to the work in progress thread. I'll leave links to the rules and to the printed sheet here. So I'm interested in feedback either here in the comments or on Board Game Geek. So in this game, you are searching for the mysterious Grail Pen, and you're at a fountain pen show. So to win, you must end the game at the revealed location with enough cards remaining and enough points from purchasing pens, inks, and accessories, and have written down the ancient incantation at the bottom here, so that you can obtain the pen. And all of this before your deck runs out, and being careful not to block your access to that final location. To set up, you decide on a difficulty to include jokers. And jokers are wild. They can be any card, so they make the game easier. So no jokers is the most difficult. One joker is medium, and both jokers included is the easiest mode of play. So once you decide on the jokers you want to use, you'll shuffle the deck and you'll draw a hand of 3 cards. The card that was drawn first, say if it was this 9 of clubs, determines the entry point. So there's 4 doors, and I would enter from the club over here. And then later in the game, if you go out a door, you can come back in any door. But that's to start the game. And throughout the game, you'll have a hand limit of 3 cards. You cannot draw more until these 3 are used, discarded, or set aside. You can store up to 2 cards in a watch list. So over here, so you kind of have a maximum of 5 cards called your collective hand. As kings appear, you can set those aside separately. These represent Nibmeisters or appointments with Nibmeisters. You need 2 to get a custom grind on a pen. But once you move a card over to your appointment book, it cannot be moved back. It's stuck there. This game, cards represent your resources. They represent your time, your money, your energy, your passion for the pen hobby, etc. Cards can be used to move, test inks, buy inks that you've tested, and in this game you have to test an ink before you can buy it. You can buy fountain pens, and you can get a custom nib grind on a pen that you've purchased. So kings are required if you want to get a nib grind, but these can also function as a wild card in your hand. So a king can be any suit and any value. The same with jokers if you're using those in a game. Jacks, queens, and aces can be any value of that suit up to a 7. So 2 through 7. And then movement, you can use a card, any card for movement, but your movement is capped at 7 spaces no matter what that card is. So for example, if you use this 9, you could use that for movement, but it would just, maximum of 7 spaces. The cards also help with the theme of finding the hidden Grail Pen. So as the jacks and queens are drawn, you'll actually cross out the associated symbol on the vendor floor. So for instance, this jack of hearts, I can go here and cross out this icon. and I know that that won't be the location for the Grail Pen. Essentially, the last jack or queen that's revealed will be the final location. That's where you must end the game, so be careful not to block access. You can't backtrack over your steps, if you remember, so be careful not to block something off so you can get there. As queens are drawn, it will reveal the required incantation that you need to write down. So you'll look at this table, and under the queen's suit, so for example, if the queen came up as the Queen of Hearts and the top discard card was a 9, you would use the third row and come across, and that first word you would write would be Nexus, and you would write it down here. So here's an example from a game that I just played where we had Velum, Fulgur, Calamus, Nexus. So pretty fun. So then the other thing is aces. If as aces are drawn, these represent curses, trying to keep you from getting to the Grail Pen. So when an ace is drawn, you look to see if you have a pen and an ink that you've purchased of that suit. So for example, if you drew the ace of diamonds, you would check to see if you have a pen with the diamond symbol, and to see if you have an ink that you've purchased with the diamond symbol. If you have one or the other, then you still need to shade in one square, and you can choose which one here. If you have neither, then you'll need to shade in both of those squares, blocking more of the vendor floor. And note that jacks, queens, and aces, they're used for these thematic things, but they're also just cards in your hand. They function as a 2 through 7 of that suit. So at the end of the game, you have to be at the location that is revealed. You have to have a score that's 25 or more. That is basically the lesser of your inks and accessories section or your pen section. So the lesser of is what you'll actually get scored on here. So keep that in mind as you're going through the vendor floor. And you'll also need to have 25 in value that's in the cards that are remaining. So either the draw deck that's remaining or what's in your collective hand. Your appointment book does not count for that. To buy an ink, you need to have first tested it. So here's an example of testing some inks. You can see the smudges here. These can be, and then you write in the name of the ink you're testing. This can be the real name or a made-up ink. And then later you can buy that tested ink. To test, you'll need one card from your hand, your collective hand, that meets the requirements of the icon you're next to. So this, for example, this ink bottle with a heart, you would need to have a card that's a heart. So as you are playing, you will need to use one of those cards. So this card could be used, and then any card in my collective hand, I could also test an ink if it meets the requirement. So the only other heart I have is here. So essentially I could test 2 heart inks and write those in, and then later to purchase an ink, you just need to have the required card and then any second card to purchase that. And then you would shade in the bottle, and the bottles are 3 points each. For pens, you have to have the required type. So that would mean here you would need to have a club, and if it's say a 6 of clubs, you would fill in to this second star. That means it would be one club that fits the requirement, any second card, and then you'll need a card for the nib. So pens essentially are require a card for each star plus the nib, and you want to keep in mind that nibs give you points if they're unique, and there's an index of the types of nibs you can buy. So that's card specific. So the stars are 2 points each, and then unique nibs are 1 point. Getting a custom nib grind, it requires that you are next to one of these green icons. You'll see they all have a spade. You need to have your appointment book, so 2 kings and any spade card, just representing the nib. I thought that the spade looked kind of like a nib, so that's fun. So you would spend the cards, and then you would fill in, where you're at, where your appointment was, and then fill in the pen that you're getting ground. And then those are worth 6 points each. There's also coffee snack areas next to the entrances. They have a little +2 on them. Basically, if you're next to one of those, you can look at the top 7 cards of the discard. Choose any of those 2 cards to put at the bottom of your draw pile, giving you a little bit of a boost of energy, so your deck won't run out. Let's see. Movement has to be connected to the most recent block. Here I've got an example of some movement. You can see that move is up to 7 spaces. Anything that you're touching is available that turn. Once you move on, you cannot use those vendors or spots anymore. But here's an example. I could have gone this way from this end. I could have come this way. I chose to go down this route here. So as long as you're touching your prior block, and your block can be any shape, just be careful not to block off your spaces to get to that final location. So the game ends if you either trap yourself from getting to that final location, you run out of cards, or you end at that final location, in which case you win if you have at least 25 points, at least 25 in value of remaining cards, and the written out incantation to obtain the Grail Pen. That is it for this. Thanks for checking this out. I would love feedback. If you have ideas to improve the game, make it more fun, ways to improve the theme, edits on the written rules, and formatting ideas, I am all ears for that. So you can leave comments here in the comments or on Board Game Geek. And that's it. We'll see you next time. Thanks.